in. Leave it in. Charlie, I don't know what you're barking at. I don't even
It
see
was the
anything.
beep of the...
Okay, gotcha. He doesn't like beeps.
Welcome to Beyond the Destination. My name is Michael.
And I'm Susan.
You normally watch my Accessible Traveler channel to see places that we go, but today we're starting this podcast so we can show you the journey of our life together with me having a disability. Okay, so in the first episode, we're going to talk about how Susan and I met.
It was a Chinese restaurant.
Yep, it was a Chinese
lunchtime.
restaurant. It was lunchtime. We were both going through breakups in our marriage. I actually was on my way to divorce, and so was Susan. But I went into this Chinese restaurant. It was a Chinese takeout, and I had my own business, so I was on my own schedule. So I walked into this restaurant, and I didn't understand the concept of Chinese takeout. So we'll come to that story here in a second. But I went in and I sat down, and I placed my order at the counter, and I went and sat down, and I placed the order for here, not to leave. So he said to go or here. I said for here, and I went and sat down at the table. Well, when I sat down, I saw Susan walk in, and I could see something wasn't right about her. She was.
He says that now.
She was, no, in all seriousness, she had
yeah.
tear running down her face.
Yeah, it was some good times.
And
It wasn't.
she went and placed her order, and I kept my eye on her. And she placed her order and went over and sat at another table. And while she was sitting at this other table, I noticed she really started tearing up really bad. And I'm naturally just a very caring person, so I went over to see if I could comfort her. I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know if she had her car broke down or, something happened that she was dealing with. Maybe I could give her some comfort or something. Well, I went and asked her if I could sit down at her table while I waited on my food. And, I asked her, I said, "Are you okay?" And she's trying to brush it off. "Yeah, I'm okay." And she wiped her tears away and everything. And it was kind of good timing because at that point my food came out, and the Chinese gentleman walked over and he handed me a bag of Chinese food, and I said, "No, I wanted it for here." And he kind of looked at me with this puzzled look, and he said something to me, and I didn't understand what he said, and I said, "No, for here." So what he did, he went and opened up the bag, pulled the little box of Chinese out and set it on the table and walked away. Well, Susan and I started laughing.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, we probably belly laughed for like 5 minutes, realizing that because it was a Chinese takeout, they really didn't have plates and all that stuff. They just gave it to you in a bag. And I'm sure that Chinese guy went into the back and kind of rolled his eyes and told everybody about it, but I think it was kind of funny.
It was funny. Had to be there. One of those moments you had to be there. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. So from time to time, we get questions on the Accessible Traveler about disability and life and everything. So we compiled some of these questions and wanted to be able to answer them for you. First one that we have is, under how we met, is how did disability first come up in conversation? Well, after we stopped laughing, we were sitting there and we were talking about life, and Susan was telling me about, some things going on in her life with, her marriage had fallen apart, and I kind of reiterated what was going on with mine as well. And I've always been very self-conscious about my disability because with living it every day, I notice how people look at me. In other words, I walk with a crutch. I have cerebral palsy that affects me from the waist down, and I do walk differently from everybody else. I almost look to the point where I'm off balance when I walk. So there's a lot of people out there that it makes them feel really uncomfortable, and I try not to do that, with my walking and everything, but it's just a fact of life. And I tried to explain some of that to Susan and about my crutch.
I've seen it now, though. I've
And
seen it.
see,
Yeah.
she didn't see it at first.
Oh, no. I
You,
always heard him, he talked about, oh, I don't want to go in there. We'll go in early because people look at me. And I said, oh, hon, I'm not thinking, oh, they don't do that. But then now I've seen some, like people, few people.
Yep.
The one lady, we were sitting in a diner one time, and Mike, I think you went to the bathroom or something, and you came. Oh, you
No,
came to sit down.
No, we were coming into the restaurant.
Okay, that's right.
And you had already sat down.
Yeah.
And the lady, I was walking past the booth, and her back was to me. And when I walked past a lady, as soon as I was walking past, she looks over and she overreacted.
She was very vocal, dramatic.
She was
kind
very
of person.
dramatic. She was like, "Oh!"
Yeah.
when I walked by, and that's how bad it was. And at that point, I just rolled my eyes. I nodded at the lady. I kind of turned away
we
from
sat in
her.
the booth and just
And
whatever.
kind of ignored her. But
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that I've dealt with all my life. And, it's embarrassing for me because, I'm here with, Susan, and we're trying to eat dinner. And I don't want it to be embarrassing for her.
Never has been. Never has been.
And
Never
that's why
has been.
you're so special.
I mean, I notice people that, if he stands up and he's going to, like, he has to park his scooter when we go to eat and park it away from the table, and he has to go get it. And if people are walking through, or if they have a little child with them or something, they like grab the child like, oh my gosh, he's going to fall on them or something, or get out of the way, hurry up, get out of the way. I've noticed that. Where people really don't keep it a secret. I mean, they just kind of are very, not everybody. I'm not saying everybody does this, but there's certain people that are just like, little bit overreacting, like you said.
Big time.
A little bit overreacting.
Big time. And another question that we had was, were either of us apprehensive about, continuing, a relationship? In other words, continue talking after we met. And for me, when we did sit there, I think we sat there for almost an hour in the Chinese restaurant. I don't think I really ate. I think I just kept it and took it with me. But
right.
She had to go back to work.
Mm-hmm. And you did too.
Yeah,
and we were both.
I had to get back.
And we both, I guess we both kept in touch with each other
I
because
asked
we
her
were
if I
going.
could text her to make sure she was going to be okay. And
Yeah, same.
she said sure, so we started texting. And
because we really weren't. We just met, so, and we were both going through the same situation. It was funny. It was kind of like, not funny, but it was kind of funny how parallel our worlds were with the situations we were going through and our divorces, and then we just kind of kept a close, contact with each other just to make sure we were okay. And hey, went through this today. Oh boy, I went through this today, and they were almost identical, And I think that's what kept us close until, our marriages were kind of, first marriages were kind of done. But yeah, no, just.
It's pretty neat. Now,
it is.
Another question we've had is, what has surprised us about our relationship, being married, and for Susan being married to a person with a disability? And I guess what surprised me the most in this relationship from day one was how Susan truly, and I can see it from her heart, does not see me with a disability. Nope. She really looks past it. And it's hard for me to comprehend that because all my life people have seen it. And even people that I've gone out on dates with and who I have been in past relationships with, it was always, I don't want to say a focal point, but it was one of those things where it just was always something that didn't let our relationship go to where it should have gone. And it wasn't physical limitations. It was just something about being with this disabled person. So now that I'm with Susan, I realize that that wasn't the right person. And all those people that I did have even dating relationships with that weren't comfortable. I'm glad they didn't work out.
Yep, I am too.
So
I am too.
let's go on to some other questions. We have
Yeah.
one of the topics I wanted to talk about were public reactions. And I think we got into that a little bit.
We did. There are some funny ones. Especially,
Well, I want to talk about public reactions. Again, you have people that are very hesitant, and there's some people that are clueless. You know, I talk about having a disability and some people overreacting. Well, you do have some people that are the total opposite and really they want to look right past you. And to give you an example, she and I went into Uno Pizzeria one time. And when we went into Uno, we went and sat in this back area in a booth and we had our dinner. Well, we got up and Susan, I think you had gone on out and I had to.
I was ahead of you, just
Yeah,
ahead of you, and you were behind
ahead
me.
of me. Well, I'm walking along and Susan had gone ahead of me. As soon as Susan passed, this lady in this chair, without looking, she slid this chair right out in front of me. And all of a sudden, bam! I'm knocking furniture and everything else. I fall over because I lost my balance. She pushed her chair out and I tripped over the back of
And
the
I
chair.
didn't know it happened until I heard the thud and then the sentence enhancer that came out of his mouth.
Well,
And I
that
turned
was-
around and I was like, and then all the waiting staff wanted to help him. And the first thing, when Mike and I were dating, and he met me, he said, if I fall, don't, he goes, it sounds rude and it sounds ignorant, but do not try to help me. Do not try to help me. I said, really? And he said, yeah, don't even come near me. And I said, okay. And you know what that looks like for me, right? And he's like, yeah, I know, but I don't try to touch me. Don't say, can I help you? Nothing. Don't even look. It's just kind of keep walking. And I'm like, that's going to be hard for me to do because I always love to help people. And I'm like, you don't want me to help you? Okay. So I got it though, because he stiffens up.
Well, what happens is when people are trying to grab me from 3 different ways to lift me up, I stiffen up because with cerebral palsy, if you get nervous or what have you, your limbs stiffen up. So, you know, when all this
Not a good
happened and furniture goes flying in Uno, I have like 3 guys trying to help, and she's saying, "No, let him go, let him go," and they're all looking at her like she's so
They're looking at me
mean.
like, lady, wait a minute. And I'm
And
like,
it didn't
no,
matter
please.
anyway.
Just understand. Yeah.
It didn't matter anyway. They were dragging me every other way. They lifted me up, and I'm like, okay. So, and no apology from that lady whatsoever.
No, she just kind of, it was weird. She just kind of looked and like, but well, what he said around the little kids that were at the table, I can understand, but it was just a knee-jerk reaction, and I can understand that. But it was, he didn't yell he didn't yell at the lady. He just yelled when he fell, which is kind of a reaction with him when he does it. He's done it a couple times and when we've been together, and it's like, I know, I get it. I don't go near him. It's like, okay. I don't even try to watch him because he does get very self-conscious and can't get up like he can,
Again,
normally
because-
because he stiffens.
Again, the reason for that is because I'm so proud to be with this lady, and I never want to put her in an embarrassing situation. And it's one of those things where wouldn't be fair to her to be embarrassed because of something that I feel that I do that would embarrass her. So
No, it's never embarrassing for me. It's more or less, I feel, when I have to turn and walk away, I feel bad because I don't, because I want to help him. And I know that by helping him is not doting over him. He wants to do it on. He's a very strong-willed person, very hard-headed too, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be in our next segment. But my independence has always been very important to me. Matter of fact, we can go into the next segment if you want.
Yeah, I think we have public
pretty
reaction and
much,
stuff. Yeah.
But
Moments that tested me.
moments that tested you or me.
I know. Who's that for? I've never had any moments that test me. Your hard-headedness, but that could be with anybody.
as far as moments that test me, I would think would be, out in public and people's perceptions. And I'm sure a lot of you have had that too, where you're self conscious going out. Say you're in a wheelchair or you're on crutches or you're in some type of a brace. It's taken me a long time in my life. I'm in my 60s now. It's taken me a long time to kind of let up on what other people think. Earlier on, it really bothered me because I was so independent and I've always been an independent person. And what I try to explain to people if they ever, notice my disability and we're talking in conversation, look, inside, I'm the same person you are. It's the outside that isn't working right or, where I'm a little bit different. But as a person, and I think that's what Susan has found, is she found that inner person in me. So my independence is very important to me. And there's different levels of independence. Even people that are disabled, maybe maybe you're in a wheelchair and you can't get out of the wheelchair, but you still have a certain level of independence that's important to you. And people need to understand that. And that's one thing that I've learned to deal with over my lifetime. And I think Susan understands my independence too, that I like to do things. I was raised in a household where my mother was very protective, but my stepfather, who raised me, did raise me with a lot of independence. He taught me woodworking skills. He taught me independence. He taught me how to do things for myself.
I love the story about your mom
Oh,
and the driving. I love that story.
yes. When I was 16, I wanted to drive. And all of my friends were driving. My brother, who was a year older than I was, he was driving. Well, my mother, for some reason being so overprotective, had decided that she wanted to tell me that what I should learn to do is maybe accept the fact that I'm going to be taking the bus a lot of places. That wasn't good enough for me. Going back to my independence, one day I saw the keys on the kitchen counter and she was in the bathroom. So I went and grabbed the keys and I was going out the front door and I said, Mom, I'm going to learn to get my driver's license with or without you. And I said, I'll be in the car. I'm giving you 5 minutes. She came out and jumped in the passenger seat. And from that day on, I learned to drive. She taught me. I went down, took the test. I passed the test on the driving test on the first try, the written test on the first try. And being in my 60s, I've been driving ever since.
Oh my gosh. And what a driver you are.
So don't
He's very
don't
good.
ever let somebody else say that you can't do something because you can. If you feel that you can do something, if there's a will, there's a way. There's a lot of driving assistance devices out there, no matter what your disability is, depending on how severe it is. If you feel you can drive, there's probably a device out there that can help you accomplish that. So keep that in the back of your mind.
Definitely.
What about misunderstandings? That's a good one.
Misunderstandings. Probably, I don't know if it's related to, there's misunderstandings without the disability. We have misunderstandings. But I think as far as misunderstandings from people or from me?
From you.
From me, misunderstandings? I guess the misunderstanding of hearing, first meeting him and seeing the crutch and not really seeing it, just knowing that he has disability. He has cerebral palsy in his legs. And listening to him and his stories of what he's done in his life and, what he's accomplished. I guess to me that was a wow factor. I mean, it was a misunderstanding that I thought, well, he can do some things, but maybe he can't do other things. And we were in Olympics, the Cerebral Palsy Olympics. He went to Denmark, won gold medals. I mean, you tell somebody that, they're like, wow, really? Or how many RVs have you owned?
5.
Five. Driving, we have a golf cart. He loves to drive the golf cart around. and just everything else that he's accomplished in his life. Owned how many businesses? It's just
4.
4 businesses. I mean, just accomplished a lot of things in his life. Traveled, went to Europe, a lot of places, and
And I guess
guess
interrupting you.
No, that's okay.
I think what I wanted to accomplish with this podcast is to really display that you guys out there, if you have a dream, go reach for it. Don't let other people tell you can't do it. Dreams are out there for everybody. It doesn't, if it's a small dream, if it's a large dream, go chase it. I don't care how disabled you are, if you're bedbound. If you have a dream to do something, at least reach for it, at least try. I haven't accomplished all my dreams in life. I'd love to be, living on a yacht somewhere. I'm not going to accomplish that, but you know what? With the dreams that I have, I've reached out. It's taught me to dream and try to accomplish some things. And I have accomplished quite a few of my dreams. So don't let that hold you back. You can do things that you never thought you would if you just try.
Just try it. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, by saying, someday I'll try that, or someday should be right now, and go do it. Go do what you want to do. Tomorrow's never promised. And life isn't, a dress rehearsal. I've always said that. Just go try to enjoy what you can, what you can't, what you're able to do. I mean, what you can, do within limits. We're not, I know some people, don't reach for something that you can't do. Then that hurts you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Think about what you can do and what would be, fun for you to do or nice for you to do that you were able to do. And go do it.
We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yes.
On any questions you have. We'll be happy to answer anything. This podcast is going to now be a weekly podcast on Wednesday nights. It's going to come out at 7 p.m. Eastern. And, if you start putting your questions into the comments, we will attempt to answer every one of them every week rather than just doing this as a one-off. And hopefully, you guys will find this interesting, helpful, and, this is all going to be about lifestyle, experience, and relationships, and anything that you guys want to turn it into. So let us know.